Did anyone else have a friend that was super good at talking to parents? And it's always the kid who's a menace in real life. Because there was a guy in my friend group growing up named Spencer, and Spencer's dad was a retired Navy SEAL. So this man was terrifying. He could crush me like a grape if he wanted to. So obviously, as a group of young kids, we were super scared of him. Except for one person. Because for some reason, our friend Darius did not fear him at all. Like, we would hang out at Spencer's house because he had a really big place. But none of us wanted to be the one to knock on the door because we knew his dad would answer. But Darius didn't care. He knocked on that door with no hesitation. So then we would all be hanging out together playing video games or something. Until all of a sudden, someone would notice that Darius was gone. So we'd look around the house trying to find him. And where would he be? Watching sports in the living room with the dad. He'd be making jokes to the dad and everything. And this dad never laughed. But Darius knew how to work that magic on him somehow. Every friend group needs a guy like Darius.
Why do girls make it so hard to tell when they like you? Because I probably would have had a girlfriend by now if all girls weren't like this. Like, anytime I was ever into a girl, when I would see them, I'd smile and try to make it really obvious that I liked them. But the response back would always be them giving me a face like this. And you may be like, well, Tyler, that just means they don't like you. And that's what I used to think too, but no. Because there have been multiple scenarios where a girl would look at me as if she thought I was the most disgusting creature ever, only to find out later that she liked me. I don't know what love language that is, but all girls seem to have it. And this is why I never ask girls out, because even if I like someone, I literally have no idea if they like me back because of how girls act when they're into someone. She could literally despise me or have a crush on me, and she'd give me the same exact look.
You know a man is beautiful when he looks good with any hairstyle. I don't know who made this post, but that's facts. That is so true. I made this post. I was getting bullied by someone on TikTok today, and it made me so angry that I started yelling at my phone. But then out of nowhere, I was like, wait, if I don't want to deal with this anymore, I could just turn my phone off. So I did, and guess what? The cyberbullying stopped. Why didn't I think of this sooner?
Why do old people never throw expired food away? Like, they'll have food from before World War II in their house, and that's not even an exaggeration because I went to my friend's grandpa's house one time, and we were hungry, so my friend asked his grandpa if he had any snacks, and he was like, yeah, check the fridge. So we open it, and we find some cheese, so we're like, ooh, let's have cheese and crackers. So my friend asks his grandpa again if they have any crackers, and he says, yeah, check the pantry. But we couldn't find any, so he comes to help us look, and he reaches all the way in the back to find this dusty aluminum container, and when he opens it, there's crackers inside. But the container looks straight out of the war, so my friend made a joke saying, hey grandpa, did you get this when you were fighting in the war? And with a straight face, he goes, yeah. So my friend was like, wait, are you serious? And he says, yeah, I got these fighting in Vietnam. Those crackers were 60 years old. He lost his hearing in the war, but he made sure to keep his crackers.
Mom just texted me saying to come outside as quickly as possible because she has groceries and she needs me to help bring them in. So I put on the first pairs of shoes I could find, which were a sandal and a roller skate, and I got out here. But it's been 5 minutes now, and she's still not here. Where are you, Mom? Does anyone else have a friend you only call by their nickname? Like, it almost feels wrong to even say their actual name. Because I had a friend who everyone referred to as Beans. Because for some reason, that was all this man ate. That's not even an exaggeration either, because he would literally cook beans in the morning and bring them in a thermos, and that would be his lunch. Nothing else. Just Beans. So that's what we'd call him. But since we never used his real name, there was one day where he didn't come to school, and I had a class with him. So when he didn't show up, the teacher, who knew I was friends with him, said, you have any idea why Evan isn't here? And I was like, who? Then she goes, Evan, you guys are always talking to each other. But for about 5 seconds, I had no idea who she was talking about. I didn't know an Evan until she pointed to where Beans usually sat. So then I was like, oh, you're talking about my boy Beans. His first name is Evan, huh?
Why do teachers have such weird bathroom passes? Like, they'll give you a sword from the Revolutionary War and tell you to take that to the bathroom. And I'm not even kidding, because in one of my classes, on the first day of school, I had to go to the bathroom. So I went up to the teacher and asked. But I was terrified after doing this, because when I did it, she pulled out a baseball bat. So I'm thinking she's about to swing on me or something, and I'm like, okay, I get it. I won't ask to go again. But then she tried handing the bat to me, and she was like, here, take this. So then I was like, for what? And she goes, this is the bathroom pass. Oh, okay, I got it. One question though. Why? You couldn't have just given me something smaller? How do you expect me to go number one while holding that thing? I only got 2 hands, girl. Also, isn't that considered like a weapon? You're giving me a weapon as a bathroom pass. Do you know how ridiculous I looked going to the bathroom while holding that? Let's just say, it made the janitor's life a lot harder.
Does anyone else have a rich friend that doesn't realize how rich they are? Because I know a person like this, and I went to his house one time, which was already super nice. But when I got there, he was giving me a tour of the place, and eventually, we made it to the backyard. But in the backyard, there was a separate house. So I was like, dang, you guys even have a guest house? But then he was like, huh? No, we don't. So then I went, well, whose house is that? And I pointed to it. But you know what his response was? Oh, you're talking about the doghouse. The what? Then he goes, yeah, that's where the dog spends a lot of his time. Brother, that dog has a bigger house than my family of 5. And then he has the audacity to say, well, don't you have a doghouse for your dog? Yeah, we do have a doghouse. Not a full estate! So of course, I did the only logical thing you could do in this situation, and I asked if I could be their new pet. Like, go bark and play fetch all you want if you let me chill in the house. That dog better be paying rent. You know how when a group of pretty girls walk by, you check the weather app to pretend like you're on your phone? Well, I have a friend that used to be super socially awkward and did not know how to talk to women. And no, I'm not talking about myself, okay? Even though that does describe me. But anyways, my friend used to check the weather app so much when he was in this situation, and I just saw him for the first time in a couple years recently. So I asked him what he's been up to, and he told me he's trying to become a weatherman. So I was like, oh, I never knew you wanted to do that. And he goes, neither did I. But after checking the weather app so much around girls, I started to realize that it was super interesting to me. This man literally figured out what he wants to do in life from this happening so much. I guess there are some perks to being scared of women. I'm just coping. I just tried a peanut butter and jelly sandwich for the first time ever, and these things are so good. What are in these? Seriously, I need the recipe. If you know how to make these, please tell me what's in these. Have you ever been hanging out with your friend and their mom uses you as an example of how they should act? Like, there's no better feeling than that, but it's also scary because you'll just be standing there and she'll be like, Jimmy, why can't you be more like Tyler? He's always so respectful and hardworking. And you can tell Jimmy is about to tell his mom the most preposterous, vile thing you've ever done in your life just to make himself not look as bad. Like, my friend's mom said this to him once because he failed a test and I did really good on it. But I made a mistake because I was egging him on and I was like, yeah, dude, why aren't you more like me, huh? So this made him angry and he was like, Mom, the only reason Tyler did good on the test was because he cheated off the smart kid. But when he told her that, she snitched to my mom about what I did. And then I ended up getting in trouble, and my mom was lecturing me about how I should be more like my friend because he actually studied instead of cheating. I guess none of the kids are behaving.
Why do middle school teachers make high school sound so scary? Because when I was in middle school, one of my classmates unfortunately passed away from a sickness. And you may be like, Tyler, what does that have to do with your teacher making high school sound scary? Well, after this happened, there was a day in class where everyone was misbehaving. So the teacher screamed, which made everyone go quiet. Then she said, you guys think you can act like this in high school? You can't. If you try acting like this over there, you're gonna end up like Michael. Michael was the kid who passed away, by the way. But what did she even mean by that? Was it a threat? Because it kind of sounded like a threat. So anyways, after she said this, I was absolutely terrified for high school, thinking it was gonna be like a max security prison in there. But in reality, the teachers did not care. Like, high school was so chill that I used to play Call of Duty with one of my teachers. I'm pretty sure that teacher was just trying to threaten us. Have you ever noticed the difference between how boys are on the last day of school versus girls? Because the girls always seem to be super sad. Like, since they're not gonna see a lot of their friends over summer, they might be crying or hugging each other, saying they should hang out when they know that's definitely not gonna happen. But for some reason, boys don't experience any of those feelings because the way they act is completely different. Like, boys know that there's no consequences on the last day of school since you're not gonna be there again. So you can do something crazy. One time on the last day, this guy in my class had a really big crush on the teacher the whole year. So he literally brought flowers to school and asked her if she would go on a date with him. Sadly, she said no, because I guess she had a husband already or something. And the kid was 12, so that would have been pretty weird. But hey, those are the shots you take on the last day.
Then any ladies like to come Netflix and chill with me? We could watch whatever you want on this bad boy. Boss Baby? Minecraft movie? It will be in black and white though. Just so you know. Have you ever gotten a text from someone and you respond right away, but then they somehow don't respond back for hours? Like, what could you possibly have been doing within those 2 milliseconds of texting me and me texting you back to where you didn't see the message? Is this what you do right after sending the text? And send. Like, I know you're still on your phone when I texted you back, so what's the deal? And I get it, some people don't like to respond right away, and that's fine. Take 5-10 minutes to respond, but not 6 days. I texted my friend last week asking who he thinks is gonna win the Super Bowl, and he just responded to me yesterday saying the Eagles. Like, why are you even answering that question? You watched the game already. If there's one positive thing from this, at least I know who I'm not putting on my emergency contact list. You know how when you're playing Kahoot in class, people make their names on it super inappropriate because they think it's funny? Well, I do not recommend doing that because one time we had a substitute teacher and she said we were gonna be playing Kahoot. So everyone got super excited. But when you have a sub, people love to mess around because they think there's no consequences. So when it was time to put our names in Kahoot, everyone was making it something super inappropriate. But she didn't even notice until we actually started playing the game. And the person that was in first place was named Jenna Talia. So when the game ended and Jenna won, the teacher went, wow, good job, Jenna Talia. The moment she said those words out loud, everyone laughed and she finally realized what she just said. Then she started looking at the other names and noticed that they were all inappropriate like that. So she snitched on our whole class to our normal teacher, and the next day, it was off. I just saw a video where someone made an edit of me and it looked really cool. So can y'all make more edits of me? I'll even do some poses for it right now. Here we go. I just Googled all the symptoms of the sickness I've been having the past few days, and based off everything I just read, it looks like I'm either pregnant or on my period. I didn't know either of those things could happen.
Our fashion trend's so weird. Like, tell me why I just saw a video where this guy was wearing pants with a pee stain on them. So this girl got his attention and was like, hey, I don't want to embarrass you, but I think you might have peed yourself. And he looks down at his pants and starts laughing. The girl asks what's funny, and the man goes, I didn't pee myself. The pants come like this. So then she goes, what do you mean? And he tells her he bought the pants with the stain on them. But when the girl asks why, he says, Cause it's fashion. Dog, that's not fashion. That's first grade after you drink too much water at recess. So then I looked it up, and they literally do sell these pants online that come with a pee stain on them. People will literally buy anything these days. Choosing to have pee stains on your pants is literally almost as bad as wearing jorts. That's still the worst.
My alarm clock didn't go off this morning, so I missed my flight, and I didn't know why this happened at first because I vividly remembered setting it for 7 a.m. But then I realized I was super tired last night when I did this, so I didn't set my alarm in the clock app. No, I set it in the calculator app! I just got a really weird message written on my coffee from the person who made it, and I don't know whether I should be scared or laughing because I'm pretty sure they recognize me from social media, and look what they wrote on it. Oil up Tyler. I don't even want to drink this no more.
Do you ever need an excuse to skip school? Do not say you have to go to a funeral. Because one time, I was going on vacation with my family, so I was going to miss some school. But I needed an excuse to tell my teacher to not get in trouble, and I decided to tell her that I was going to my grandma's funeral. But I really didn't want her to question it, so I made it super dramatic, and I was like, yeah, this is the last grandma I had. But I really shouldn't have said this, because the teacher told me to take as much time off as I need. So a couple months later, the end of the school year came around, and this was my last year of elementary school, so we had like a graduation event for everyone that was going to be moving on to middle school. But guess who came to this event? My grandma. And I totally forgot that I told my teacher she passed away. So when the event ended, my teacher came to say goodbye and she started talking to my whole family, including my grandma. So when my grandma introduced herself, my teacher looked as if she saw a ghost, because she probably thought she did. Once I realized why she had that look on her face, I was like, okay, time to go. I'm just glad I never had to go back. Nobody talks about how frustrating it is when your friend owes you money, yet they keep buying stuff. Like me and my friend went out to eat one time, but he said he didn't get paid till next week, so he asked if I could pay for his meal, which came out to be $22. So when the day came where he got paid, I didn't even ask for my money back. I was just hoping he would give it to me on his own, but he didn't. So about 3 days later, we're hanging out, and I ask him if he can pay me back. But he's like, sorry man, I don't have the money yet. Just give me a couple more days. So I'm like, no worries dude, that's totally fine. Just let me know when you get the money. And I wasn't upset at all, until I saw the story he posted the next day. Because you know where he was at? The casino! But the funny thing was, in the picture he posted, you could see the machine he was using, and it said he put $100 in there. Where'd you get that money from? He ain't borrowing from me anymore, I can tell you that. The best type of friend to have is one with divorced parents, because I used to hang out with this guy whose parents had a really messy divorce. The mom and dad did not like each other anymore. So depending on the day, sometimes we would go to his mom's house to hang out, and sometimes we would go to his dad's. But no matter which one we went to, it was awesome, because since the parents didn't like each other, they would try their hardest to impress us whenever we came over, hoping that we would like them better. Like when we went to his mom's house once, and she saw that he had a bunch of friends over, she immediately went to Raising Cane's and got us a bunch of food. We didn't even ask for it. But then when we would go to the dad's house, he would ask his son how it was staying at mom's, and of course he would say it was awesome. So the dad literally responded by buying us tickets to go to Disneyland. Don't get me wrong, divorce sucks, but if you're the kid, you might as well get something out of it. Have you ever met someone that copies your vocabulary? And they always try to act like you aren't the reason they talk like that. Because I grew up in California but went to school in Tennessee, and people there spoke very differently. So when I first arrived, I met this guy that was from Tennessee, and he was super country. He grew up on a farm and talked like this. So whenever I saw him, I would always say, "What's up, fool?" Because that's just a word people in California said. And at first, he was confused because he didn't know what fool meant. But after a couple of weeks, every time he would see me with his thick country accent, he would be like, "How's it going, fool?" But it was so funny because you could tell that was a word he never said before. And then when I asked when he started saying that word, he was like, "I've always talked like that." Yeah, okay, buddy. I'm honored when people start using my vocabulary though. It makes me feel good. The person I just met in the elevator that said they watch my videos, I'm so sorry about what happened. Because I was staying at a hotel and I got in the elevator to go back to my room, but I had Mexican food like an hour before this. So there was an absolute hurricane going off in my stomach and I farted in the elevator. And initially, I was the only one in it, but the hotel I'm staying at is 10 stories and I was on the 8th floor. So I'm just hoping that the elevator doesn't stop before getting to my floor, but then at floor 6, I hear a ding go off and the elevator stops. So I'm like, oh no, they're gonna smell my fart. And a guy walks in and gives me a weird look. So I'm like, yep, he definitely smells it, but no, it was even worse because he goes, "Are you a YouTuber?" And I tell him I am, and he says, "No way, I've seen your videos before." Dog, that was the worst thing you could have said right now. Because after he got in the elevator, he started coughing, so he definitely smelled it. But when he did that, I started coughing too to make it seem like I wasn't the one who farted. And when the elevator got to my floor, I ran out of there as quick as possible. You just can't trust those bean burritos, man. You ever started saying a certain word as a joke, but now it's become part of your normal vocabulary? Like, no matter how hard you try to stop saying it, you can't. Because I was at a restaurant the other day, and the food arrived looking delicious. So I take a bite, and this is how I react. Bombaclat. Now let me ask you a question. Do I look like someone who says that word? No. The only reason I started saying it in the first place was because I loved watching those soccer videos where the player would do something embarrassing and the crowd would react by going, Bombaclat. But it became so satisfying to say that I started saying it way more than I should have. And I don't even pronounce it correctly, so when I said it at the restaurant, I could see a person at the table next to me who heard it and they were laughing. I say Bombaclat like how a Karen says quesadilla. It just don't sound right. The vegans who were protesting in the middle of the street today causing traffic,
You guys made me late for the movies, so because of that, I ordered double the amount of chicken I was going to just to cancel out the meat that you don't eat.
Craziest part about growing up is becoming old enough to learn about your family's lore. Because when you're younger, you just think your family is completely normal with no crazy stories. Until one day, your dad randomly decides you're old enough to tell you an insane story that will change how you view your family forever. Like, what do you mean Ted Bundy is your second cousin? But it's so funny because they'll just casually drop it on you as if it's no big deal. You'll be eating dinner with him like normal, and then out of nowhere, your mom will tell you something that will become your new go-to when you play 2 truths and 1 lie. She'll be like, oh, by the way, honey, great-grandma Shirley was one of the people who survived the Titanic shipwreck. Yeah, no, I'm serious. Here's a picture. Then she just shows you a flick of your great-grandma boarding the Titanic at 22 years old waving goodbye to her family. Maybe the stories of them having to travel 5,000 miles just to get to school every day weren't fake.
I accidentally kidnapped someone's cat the other day because I was at the veterinarian since my cat needed shots. But after they finished, they gave him back to me in this big box and said he was sleeping. So I just figured I would let him rest and not take him out of the box. Until I was about halfway home because I heard him meow. But my cat has a really high-pitched meow, and this one was more like meow. So I opened that box as quick as possible, and it wasn't my cat. I took it back, and the vet was like, oops, we mixed it up. What?
You know how when you're talking to someone and you can't understand what they're saying, you just laugh and hope for the best?
Well, I do not recommend doing that because my friend was telling me about how he wasn't going to be at school for a couple of days.
But when I asked why, I couldn't understand his response because he talks faster than if Eminem and Trisha Paytas had a baby. So he's telling me why he's going to miss school, and I just keep going, huh? But after doing that about 4 times, it started to get awkward, and I didn't want to say huh again. So instead, I just laughed after he repeated himself for the 4th time. But apparently this was not the reaction I should have had because he asked why I was laughing. And I just told him the truth and was like, to be honest, I have no idea what you just said, but I didn't want to keep saying huh. So then he said, oh, gotcha. Well, I was telling you that I have to miss school because I'm gonna get a tumor in my leg removed. Should have just kept saying huh.
Nick and Cassie, I'm so happy you guys found love. And the best part is, you get to spend Valentine's Day with each other and not alone. Like some of us. When will it be my turn? Hi, I'm Tyler Vitelli. I was nominated to do the Ice Bucket Challenge by my friends Nick and Aubrey. Here's the ice bucket. As you can see, I nominate LeBron James, World of T-Shirts, Jadion, Dax Flame, Cristiano Ronaldo, Lionel Messi, and Anthony. Here we go. And this is for mental health, by the way, so yeah, here we go. Oh my god. I accidentally just cut this guy off while driving, so he sped up right next to me, and I thought he was either gonna flip me off or curse at me, but instead, he just did this. If you're ever feeling embarrassed, just know that I was on a bus yesterday that didn't have any air conditioning and it was completely full. Like there were no open seats. But at one of the stops, this little kid got on the bus with his mom and said, Mommy, I want to sit down. But then she went, honey, there's no seats open right now. So trying to be a nice civilian, I say, oh, you can take my seat. And the kid looks excited for about a second until I stand up because then I hear him say, never mind, I don't want to sit there. So I glance back at the seat and what do I see? Butt sweat stains from me sitting there. Even I didn't want to sit back down now, so the seat was just left open with an imprint of my butt on it. Just put air conditioning on the buses, please. I'm currently getting canceled by one person because they sent me a DM that said, why'd you like this post, weirdo? Then they sent the post they were referring to, so I clicked on it to see what it was, and now I understand why they're trying to cancel me. Because the post was a picture of this cute dog that said, like this photo, ... So I liked it. But what I didn't notice the first time was that there was a second slide which said, if you think Diddy should be free. I didn't read that part because I always like posts after looking at them for 1 millisecond and then scroll. So if you ever see me liking posts that start out wholesome but then turn freaky, just know I didn't read the whole thing, okay?
Have you ever met a friend group that uses code names to talk about people at school? Because I didn't know this was even a thing until one time I was in class and I was eating M&Ms. And this girl I sat next to asked if she could take a picture of me holding them. So I was like, why? And she started laughing and she said she couldn't tell me. But eventually, I got her to admit what was happening. And apparently, her and the rest of her friend group had code names for every guy at school. And I guess mine was Eminem. But I still didn't understand, so I was like, is it because I'm shaped like one? Or, but she said, no, it's just our way of communicating without anyone knowing who we're talking about. Then she started naming a bunch of other guys at our school and the nicknames they had, and that's when I realized they were all candies. I'm just glad I wasn't the guy who got the nickname Candy Corn. They must have not liked him. Have you ever done so bad on a test that you apologized to the teacher? Like I remember during my final one year, the teacher did everything in her power to make sure everyone did good on the test. She gave us a bunch of study guides, so she really wanted everyone to pass. But unfortunately, this was chemistry class, and I'm no Walter White. I was awful at chemistry. No matter how much teaching she did, I just could not understand it. So when the final came around, I literally left half of the test blank because I didn't know how to answer any of the questions. But I felt so bad because of how much effort the teacher put into preparing us. So when I turned my test in, I literally wrote on the front page, I'm sorry, I tried my best, with a frowny face. The next day, she pulled me to the side and asked me what she could have done better to prepare me for the test. And I literally had to say, it's not you, it's me. Because that was the truth. I think I just watched the most emotional, amazing movie ever created. And now I can't stop crying.
Why are people making GIFs of me crying over my haircut and posting them in the comment sections on videos? But you know what the worst part is? This isn't even my video! I saw this comment on a random video that had nothing to do with me. How do you even post a GIF as a comment? I'm wearing hats from...
You ever thinking about looking up your teacher on social media? Don't do it. Because a couple years ago during school, I had a teacher that everyone was terrified of. He was super strict, never smiled, and he always smelled like lavender for some reason. But anyways, one day my friend asked me what I think our teacher does when he's not teaching because we could not imagine this guy outside of the classroom. So I was like, I don't know. Let's try looking him up on social media. So we typed in his name and right away, we found his profile. But we were traumatized because apparently outside of school, he had a hobby of drawing. And you may say, well, Tyler, what's the problem with that? Nothing. Except for the fact that every single drawing of his was just girls with really big melons. Every single one. All his posts were just drawings of girls that were shaped like Mewtwo. And listen, I ain't judging, but you might want to make that profile private, teach. Have you ever been telling your mom a story and then you accidentally say something illegal you did? Like me and my friends were hanging out one time and when I got back home, my mom asked how it went. So I started telling her details about what we did that day, but I messed up because I told her we went swimming. But I was the only one of my friends that had a pool and we weren't at my house, so my mom was like, wait, if you weren't swimming here, where were you? And then without thinking, I just told her, oh, we just hopped the gate at school and we went in the pool there. Right when those words left my mouth, I realized I just admitted that we trespassed on the school property. So before she could even get a word in, I was like, oh wait, that's not what happened actually. My friend has a cousin and we went in his pool. But my mom ain't stupid. She knew exactly what we did. I'm always yapping myself into crying. If you go to the bathroom past midnight, always turn the light on. Because around 2 a.m. last night, I woke up and really had to pee. So I got up, but I was pretty much still half asleep. My eyes felt super heavy and I didn't really have any of my senses yet. So I'm walking in the dark and I open the bathroom door, but right when I do that, I see a shadowy figure on the toilet. So I scream because I'm thinking, why is there a ghost taking a dump in my bathroom right now? But I didn't know if I was just imagining it because I was super tired. So I turned the light on and what do I see? My mom just sitting there. She was sitting in complete silence at 2 a.m. with the lights off. So I asked her, Mom, what are you doing? And she says, I'm just going to the bathroom. But then I say, yeah, but why are you just sitting here with the lights off not saying anything? And she was like, I don't know, that's just what I always do. Next time I gotta go to the bathroom at this time, I'm just gonna wet the bed. Does anyone else have a friend that never responds to any of the videos they send them? It's literally like you're trying to converse with a brick wall because they just refuse to say anything. You could have just watched the most funny video ever and you're thinking, oh man, my friend would love this. And you send it to them and it's just crickets. Like you can't at least give me a little laughing emoji to make me feel good? And the worst part is, I know he doesn't even watch them because I've sent him a video before that said, send this video to your friend. And if they don't respond with the skull emoji, they don't watch the videos you send them. And you know what happened when I sent him that video? Nothing. The crazy part is, I still send him videos every day knowing that he's not gonna respond because I'm just hoping that one day he'll actually watch the video and respond with something like a laughing emoji. When that happens, it'll make all the videos that I've sent him that he ignored worth it. It's never gonna happen. Gen Z being parents is so hilarious because we're not gonna be able to help our kids with anything. Like if my kid doesn't know how to do their math homework and they ask me for help, what am I gonna do? I stopped understanding that stuff when they added letters to it. ChatGPT better be real good by the time I have kids in school or else we're both gonna be crying. We might not even be able to help them with learning how to spell because we don't know how to either. Have you seen a TikTok comment section recently? Every word is abbreviated. Like, why don't we start abbreviating the word this? It's already one syllable. And then my kid's gonna be complaining about how much school sucks and that he doesn't want to go. And instead of just consoling him, telling him that it's gonna be okay, I'm gonna start crying too and be like, I know, right? School is awful. It's why I started embarrassing myself on the internet instead. Well, people have to stop getting tricked by AI so easily. Because my mom was scrolling through Facebook the other day and she starts laughing hysterically. So I'm like, what's so funny, Mom? Then she tells me that she saw a video of an English bulldog cooking a steak. So I'm like, no way, let me see the video. And she shows it to me, but it's the most obvious AI I've ever seen. Like the dog was literally holding a knife and cutting the steak as if it was a human. So I was like, Mom, that video is not real. But then she was like, how do you know? So I tell her that it's super obvious that the video is AI, but then she says, it looks so real though. Mom, the knife was literally going through the dog's paw. It was not real. So I had to break her heart and tell her that this dog wasn't the next Gordon Ramsay. But this wasn't even nearly as bad as the time where she saw a photo of what Nicolas Cage would look like if he was a dog, and she thought that was real. Now that one was terrifying. I just know that in like 6 months, there's gonna be AI videos of pigs flying, and old people are gonna be like, they finally did it. Oh my gosh. I just got catcalled for the first time ever while being in Vegas, and it made me feel so good that after about 5 minutes, I purposely went out of my way just to walk by them again, hoping that they would keep hyping me up. I understand that girls don't like being catcalled because some guys can be creepy, but as a dude, this is the best feeling ever! Sleeping over at a rich person's house is so crazy because one time, my friend Colin invited me over for a sleepover, but I had never been to his house before, so when I arrived to the address he gave me, I knock on the door and a man in a fancy outfit answers, but I knew it wasn't his parents because I've seen them before. So this guy asks if I'm here to see my friend and I say yes, so he welcomes me in and tells me where Colin's at. And when I get to Colin, I ask who that guy at the front door was and he goes, oh, that's our butler. Dog, you have a butler? I thought that was
was just a thing in Batman.
But then it gets more crazy because around midnight, he asks all of us if we want to go to the movie theater. So I was like, I mean, that sounds fun, but isn't the movies closed by now? And he goes, oh no, we have a movie theater in the house. So he takes us into the movie theater room, and there's like 10 reclining chairs and like a 500-inch TV. The moment I saw this, I was on my best behavior the rest of the time because I was hoping his parents would just adopt me. I just got a comment on one of my videos from someone that said they can tell I'm super unathletic. So I'm gonna do a backflip to prove to you guys that that is not true. Here we go. Nobody talks about how embarrassing it is when you're watching a movie with your parents and a love scene comes on. Because for some reason, whenever I'm watching something with them, there always has to be an inappropriate scene. It could be Finding Nemo and there would still be something freaky happening in it. I remember one time, me and my parents went to go watch the new Oppenheimer movie. And I'm super excited, like, yeah, I can't wait to watch this movie about science and nothing else. But then about 20 minutes into the movie, the characters are getting their freak on. I thought this movie was about atomic bombs. But whenever this happens, you have to pretend like you're not even watching the movie. Like I started looking at the ceiling, checking the weather in Cupertino. You can't look at the screen or else your parents are gonna wonder why you're watching that freaky stuff.
I just got a text from my friend telling me happy birthday, but my birthday isn't for another 8 months. So I texted him back saying, what are you talking about? And he was like, isn't today your birthday? And I said, no, where did you hear that? And he told me he got a notification on Snapchat saying that it was. So I had to explain to him that I just set my birthday as a random day on there. But you know what's funny about this? We've known each other since we were 7 years old, and he's been to my birthday party multiple times. Yet he still didn't know my actual birthday. I just got a super creepy text from a number I didn't recognize which says, congratulations, the United States has drafted you to be number 4 of 100 to fight the gorilla. I don't want to do it, and I especially don't want to be number 4. Mr. Beast, if this is you, please don't make me do it. If this is real, I'm joining the gorillas team. I'm sorry, it's gonna be 99 versus 2.
Have you ever told your mom to say no to a sleepover because you didn't want to go? Because I hated sleepovers as a child since I'd always be the first to fall asleep. And I'd wake up in the middle of the night with a tooth missing or something because everyone else would mess with me. But I have cool parents, so most of the time when one of my friends asked if I wanted to sleep over, my mom would say yes. So eventually, when I didn't want to go, I would just text my mom and be like, Mom, I'm gonna call you in a couple minutes to ask if I can sleep over at my friend's house. Please say no. And my mom would rather have me sleeping at home than at a friend's anyway, so she had no problem doing it. But my friends would always get mad at me because this is how the phone call would go. Hey mom, can I sleep over at my friend's house? No. Okay, bye. So they'd be like, dude, you didn't even try to convince her at all. And I would just be like, what? Yeah, I did. Little did they know, I was just terrified to fall asleep around them.
I just found out that I'm a Nepo baby because I was at a restaurant last night, but randomly after I finished my meal, the waitress brought me a slice of lava cake. So I said, oh, sorry, I didn't order this. It must have been another table. But she was like, no, the cake is free. So I was confused, but I ate it anyways. And as I was getting ready to leave, I get the receipt for the meal and I see that on the back of it, there's a note that says, tell your mom, Laura says hi. Apparently she was my mom's childhood friend. I can't believe people complain about being Nepo babies. This is awesome.
I have kids. I'm gonna be so dramatic describing what COVID was like to them. I'm literally gonna make it sound like I lived through an apocalypse because just the other day, I was talking to my friend's little brother who's maybe 6 years old. So he doesn't really have any memory of COVID, but we were talking about that time. And I am not kidding when I tell you, I made it sound like a horror movie. I was like, people were passing away left and right. We were locked in our houses for days, weeks, months. But the most funny part was when I said to him, you couldn't even buy toilet paper. Because then he was like, well, what'd you use instead? And I just said, anything we could find. Napkins, towels, pets. I was being as dramatic as possible. Meanwhile, all I actually did during the pandemic was clock 9 hours a day on Fortnite. I even miss that era sometimes, but I'm never gonna let the future generations know that. Why are old people so dramatic? Like I just saw a video where this grandma was getting ready to go on a yacht, and all she had to do was take a tiny step from the dock to get onto the boat. But instead, she walked straight into the crack between the dock and the boat. The crack was like this big. It was literally harder to fall in it than not to. But the worst part was, it didn't even look like she was trying to get on the yacht. She just walked straight into the crack like there was a bag of candy down there. There's no way she wasn't doing it on purpose. And the people in the video were screaming like, she can't swim, she can't swim. So I thought, yeah, damn, she's definitely cooked. She ain't making it out of there. But after doing some research, it turns out she was totally fine and still went on the yacht. Even though it looks like she was just on one of those water slides where the floor drops from underneath you. Old people really gotta stop getting hurt in such cartoonish ways. Nobody talks about how embarrassing it is to order at a restaurant that has weird names for their food. I was eating at one of those millennial burger places the other day where everything is overpriced, but as I was reading the menu, one specific burger caught my eye. It had bacon and grilled onions, so I knew that was the one I wanted to get. Except there was one problem. It was called the Good Boy Burger. How do you expect me to look the waiter in the eye and say, hi, can I get the Good Boy Burger? Yeah, with extra freak sauce, please. I was in front of my family. I can't say that. But I really wanted that specific burger, so when the waiter came and asked what I would like, I just pointed to it on the menu, but he couldn't see it. So then I just said, what's the burger with bacon and grilled onions? And then he goes, oh, you're talking about the Good Boy Burger, huh? Then I go, yeah, that's the one. And as he was writing it down, I saw a little smirk on his face. These places know what they're doing.
Just got my first shiesty. Who wants to be ops with me, huh? Although I should warn you, I can only have oppositions until 9 p.m. because that's my bedtime. But just comment down below if you want to be ops, and we can make it happen. Just don't say any bad words, please. Have you ever met someone that just can't have normal hobbies? It's always gotta be something that makes you question how much free time they have. Like my friend FaceTimed me the other day, which is weird because he never does that, so I answered. But he literally just showed me his collection of different soaps that he carved into cartoon characters. How do you even discover this hobby? And you could tell he was so excited about it too. I can't even question it though because I have a hobby like this too. For me, it's heyday. Do I know anything about farming? Nope. But for some reason, whenever I play this game, I suddenly get the itch to just buy a tractor and get out on the farm. It's like my meditation. Like there is nothing that brings me more peace than harvesting crops and feeding animals in heyday. It just scratches the right part of my brain. I've literally ditched hanging out with friends before just because I wanted to play this game. So for all the people out there who say I need to touch grass, I do. It just happens to be on heyday. A girl came up to me today and asked for my number for the first time in my life. And I know what you're gonna say. Was she attractive? Well, she was like 65 years old. And I'm pretty sure she was homeless because she didn't have shoes and she was barking at people. But a win is a win, right? A win is a win. Nobody talks about how scary it is when your mean friend starts being nice to you. Because my friend and I were staying at a hotel together one night and he was acting completely normal until randomly he says, "Dang it." So I asked him what's wrong and he told me he just ran out of data on his phone. So he tries connecting to the hotel Wi-Fi, but it doesn't work. And then all of a sudden, he starts acting suspiciously nice. Like he asked if I wanted him to get me a drink from the lobby. So I was like, "Bro, why are you acting like this?" And he goes, "Acting like what? I'm just trying to be a good friend." But after about 5 minutes of this really strange behavior, he asks if he could use my hotspot. So I was like, oh, now I get why you were being nice. But I tell him no because it'll ruin my battery and I forgot to bring a charger. Plus it was super late by this time, so I was like, let's just go to bed. So I thought this would be the end of the conversation until I went to sleep. Because around 2 a.m., a bright light wakes me up. So I open my eyes to see my friend trying to unlock my phone by using the Face ID on me. First of all, my eyes have to be open for that to work. Second of all, why are you that down bad for a hotspot? If you're ever ordering food and they ask for your name, do not give them a fake one. Because me and my friend were hungry the other day, so he ordered Chick-fil-A on his phone, and he said he would pay for it if I picked it up. So I agreed, but what he didn't tell me until I got there was that he put the food under the name Jamal. Now I was super nervous because obviously, I do not look like someone with that name. But I arrived, and it was a Friday night, so it was super busy inside. And once the order was ready, the worker goes, "Order for Jamal." But I was gonna wait until they called out the name for the next order so people wouldn't be looking at me. But instead of just putting my food down and calling out the next name, the worker whips out a microphone and says, "Jamal, your order is ready. Please come to the front counter." So now everyone is paying attention and they're like, "Ooh, I wonder where Jamal's at." So at this point, I've accepted that I just cannot go up there and get the food. So I went back in line and ordered again. But this time, I didn't get my friend any food. That's what he gets. Did anyone else purposely pick the kid who couldn't read during popcorn reading at school? Like, I know this sounds evil, but I would always do it to mess with my friend. Because I remember the teacher would always ask who wants to read first, and I would raise my hand because I liked reading. But the moment I finished my page and it was time for me to pick a different person to read, everyone knew exactly who was going to be up next because I picked the same person every time. The funny part is, my friend always knew I was going to choose him because while I was reading, he would ask to go to the bathroom or try to come up with an excuse to leave class. But the teacher would always be like, "No, class just started. You don't need to go to the bathroom." So I'd pick him, and he would just be reading in like 0.5 speed. I also did this because since he was slow to read, it took up more class time. Looking back at it though, I was an evil kid. I'm sorry for making you do that, Jimmy. I almost just got kicked out of the airport because someone airdropped me a video while I was waiting for my flight. And being the curious person I am, I accepted it. But this was a big mistake because with my phone on full volume, this was the video that played. I just got a DM from someone telling me that they're getting bullied at school, and they asked me if I had any advice. So I was like, yeah, just try your best to ignore them. But then they were like, well, that's kind of hard because I go to online school. So I was like, wait, how are you getting bullied if you go to online school? And then they were like, well, you see, my bully is actually my mom. I ain't no Dr. Phil, kid. I can't help you with that one. Have you ever looked at the first question of a test and realized you're cooked? Like, you literally just give up right away after reading it. I was taking a test once in chemistry, which was by far my worst subject throughout all of school. It was like those tests were in Mandarin. But I was super nervous for this one specific test because my grade was already pretty bad. So I knew I couldn't afford to keep shooting air balls on all these exams. But then, the teacher hands it out, and immediately, I only understood like 2 words on the first question. Okay, no big deal. Let's just skip that one and go to question 2. But no, can't do that, because you know what question 2 says? Based off your answer to question 1, solve this problem. When I read that, I put my pencil down, tipped my cap to my teacher, and quit. I knew it was over. It was kind of nice though, because all the stress and anxiety from the test was gone. And now, it was just pure acceptance that I was absolutely cooked. Nobody talks about the difference between dress codes for girls versus guys at school. Because you would have thought everyone in my class was super down bad with how much the students got dress coded. Like, the girls would get so angry because anything they tried to wear got them sent straight to the principal's office. There was one time where a girl wore a long sleeve shirt that completely covered her whole body, but it was a little baggy around the neck. So when she adjusted it, you could see her shoulder. And the moment the teacher saw that shoulder for peeking out? He sent her straight to the office and she came back with a triple XL gym shirt on. But what even is the thought process there? Are there really people at school gooning over a girl's shoulder? I mean, I thought toe fetishes were weird, but y'all are taking it to the next level. Meanwhile, dress codes for guys at my school was basically non-existent. I remember during Halloween, one kid literally did not wear a shirt to school and the teacher didn't care. Honestly, my theory is that the dress code is for the teachers, not the students. Someone asks you to guess their ethnicity, don't do it. Because I just saw this pretty girl at the airport, so I started talking to her, and eventually she asked what ethnicity I was, so I told her, but then I asked what hers was, and she wanted me to guess, and she kind of looked European, so I was like, are you Italian? She says no, so then I asked if she's Spanish. She says no again. So I guessed a couple more incorrect countries until it got to the point where it started to become awkward. So finally, I just asked her to tell me, and she said that she was German. But the only thing I knew about Germany was World War II, so I had the worst possible reaction to this information. Because I said to her, oh, Germany, nice. You guys had that 1 liter back in World War II, huh? And she just had that look on her face that was like, what did you just say? And I don't blame her because I was also thinking, what the heck did I just say? So right after that, she told me she had to get to her gate, which I knew was a lie because she said she was flying to Houston and the only plane going there wasn't leaving for another 2 hours. I don't blame her though. I would have left that conversation as soon as possible too. I need to learn more about other countries, bro. If your teacher ever tries to take away your phone during class, don't let them. Because one time, I had a class with a super strict teacher who never let anyone use their phone. Like if she even saw it slightly slipping out of your pocket, she took it away. So I never dared to go on it during class, except for this one day, where the group chat I had with my friends kept going off because everyone was arguing. And I was getting roasted in it, so obviously, I had to defend myself, and I was texting during class. And I thought I was being slick until my teacher saw me and took my phone away, which wouldn't have been that big of a deal if it weren't for the fact that it was still unlocked when she grabbed it. And like I said, she hated when people tried using their phone, so she said to me, what's so important that you need to use your phone during class? And she read the messages we were sending in the group chat. And let's just say, those messages may or may not have had some Diddy jokes that she definitely did not understand. Nobody talks about the difference between how moms text versus dads. Because I have a group chat with my parents, and a couple months ago when school ended, I sent them a picture of my grades, and they were pretty good. So immediately, I got a text back from my mom that was about 9,000 words. It looked like she was trying to fill up the word requirement on an essay. Because she was like, great job, Tyler. I'm so proud of the young man you're becoming, and I can't wait to see what you do in the future. So I'm thinking, dang, Mom, I appreciate it, but I didn't just win the Nobel Prize. All I did was pass algebra, and that was mostly because of Quizlet. But when it comes to my dad, he didn't respond to this text for a couple hours until finally, I see a text from him pop up. And you know what it said? Nothing. He just sent a thumbs up emoji. I could tell my dad I cured cancer and he would respond by sending a thumbs up emoji. He'll use that thing no matter what the scenario is. My friend just FaceTimed me out of nowhere and I wanted to be funny, so I answered the call doing this pose. But after I answered, I could tell he didn't think that was funny, so I was like, oh, what's wrong? And it turns out he was FaceTiming me to tell me that he couldn't go to the beach with me this weekend because his aunt passed away. Last time I tried doing this. If you're ever trying to think of an excuse to go home early from school, don't say you're sick. Because I was at school one time, but I really didn't want to be there since a new video game I wanted to play just came out. So I made a plan to pretend to be sick, hoping the teacher would let me go home. So I raised my hand and the teacher walked over to me and I told her that I felt nauseous and like I might throw up. But then she looked at me right in my eyes and her smile faded away as she said, oh yeah, you don't look very good right now. I'll call your mom. And then she immediately went to the phone and I got sent home. Which, yeah, that was what I wanted. But at the same time, what do you mean I don't look good? I wasn't actually sick. That's literally how I always look. I know I have bags under my eyes, but it's genetic, okay? I can't control it. Now I see why people always told me I look like Goop from Meet the Robinsons growing up. If you ever have to call 911, do not hang up no matter what. Because I called them for the first time today when I was going for a hike in the mountains and I started to smell smoke. So I looked around and saw a fire starting. But it wasn't that big yet, so I was like, I better call 911 so they can stop it before it gets worse. And without thinking twice, I dialed the number. But for some reason, the moment I pressed the call button, I got super nervous because I've never called 911 before. And I felt like I was gonna get in trouble, so before they answered, I hung up. And instead, I just told one of the people that worked at the mountain that a fire was starting. But then I started to freak out because I thought about how the police probably saw that I called them right while I was next to the fire, so they were gonna think I did it. So then I was like, should I call them back and apologize or what? But I don't think you can just call 911 back. Am I supposed to leave a voicemail or something? I don't know. Have you ever noticed how different guys hear me outs are versus girls? Because for guys, it's usually pretty boring. They'll say Sabrina Carpenter is their hear me out, and you'll be like, dude, do you even know what hear me out means? Because that is literally like the most common celebrity crush. We're not bold at all for our hear me outs. But for girls, it's the complete opposite. Girls will have things that you never would have even thought of as their hear me out. And I say things because it's not always even something that's living. Like, what do you mean the Pythagorean theorem is your hear me out? I tried so hard to understand that one, but I just couldn't get it. Maybe it's because I always sucked at math. But then when they actually do choose someone that is living, It's something bodacious. Like, I saw a video where this girl said her hear me out was Thomas the Train. I don't even want to know what was going on in your head watching that show as a child. Good for my boy Thomas.
Rich people spend money on the dumbest things. Because I know someone who got hired by this really rich guy to literally just follow him around all day and take notes on what he says. Because he wants to write a book with all of his tips on how to become wealthy. So my friend starts doing this job, but after a couple of days, he was already bored of the job and he was like, there's gotta be a more efficient way to do this. And that was when he realized he could just use this AI note taker instead of having to listen to what he says all day. All he had to do was press record, and when the guy would talk, it would listen to everything he said. And once he stopped recording, it turned everything he said into notes for him. So my friend literally got paid $300 a day just to follow this guy around and record what he says. The most funny part is, the rich guy could have just used this app himself to record what he said. It's called TurboLearn, by the way, if you want to use it. But he didn't even need to hire anyone. My friend definitely ain't complaining. If I ever go to prison, I'm definitely not surviving. Because I was just talking to this guy I met on the bus, and he was telling me about his past and how he went to prison a couple times because he used to rob gas stations. So out of curiosity, I asked him what prison was like, but I shouldn't have done that because after I said that, he chuckled a little bit and I said, why are you laughing? And he goes, I'm laughing because they would have liked you in prison. So I say, what does that mean? And he responds with, let's just say, a lot of the guys in prison would have thought you were real pretty. What? So basically he's saying if I ever go to prison, I'm cooked. But this made me realize that if I'm ever in a situation where I either have to snitch or go to prison, I'm snitching on everyone. Grandma, dog, cat, I don't care, I'm snitching. Because from the way that man on the bus was laughing, I don't think I last a day in there.
I just failed the most important test of my life 10 minutes ago? Yeah, but hey, at least all the stress and anxiety leading up to it is gone now.
I just got bullied by a vegan lady because I was eating at Chipotle and there was a girl sitting at the table next to me who had a dog with her. So I'm just enjoying my meal like usual, but then I accidentally drop a piece of chicken from my bowl onto the ground. And I didn't even notice I did this at first until this lady aggressively tapped on my shoulder. So I turned to her and said, hello? Then she goes, can you please stop trying to feed my dog? So I say, what are you talking about? Then she goes, I saw you drop chicken on the ground for my dog to eat. But I was like, ma'am, if I dropped any food on the ground, I promise it was an accident. I'm not trying to feed your dog. But she wasn't happy with that answer because she said, I don't care why you dropped food on the ground. Just don't do it again. My dog is vegan. Did you just say your dog is vegan? Did he tell you that? Or now I kind of actually wanted to drop some chicken on the ground to help the poor guy out. Are vegan dogs like actually a thing?
I hate having intrusive thoughts because I was getting ready this morning, but as I was putting deodorant on, I was like, you know what? This looks pretty tasty. So I took a bite out of it, and guess what? It's not nearly as tasty as it looks. I mean, the good part is my breath is super minty now, see? But unfortunately, my mouth is also burning very bad. What do I do?
Ever DM your celebrity crush? Because my friend and I were talking about our celebrity crushes the other day, and he dared me to DM mine. So I did it right away without thinking twice about it because I thought there was no chance she would see it. And I completely forgot I even sent this DM until the next morning when I'm on my phone and I see that she viewed the message I sent to her. And you might be like, well, Tyler, isn't this supposed to be a good thing? No, because since I thought there was no chance she would ever see the message, I let my friend decide what to say. And this is where I went wrong because he asked for feet pics from my account. So since she saw that message and left me on red, I was like, oh, I better DM her back and tell her that it was just a joke. But I couldn't because she blocked me. My celebrity crush blocked me because she thought I was a weird fan who likes toes. If you're seeing this, I don't, I promise. If your friend ever calls you in the middle of the night, don't answer it because my phone was ringing at 2 a.m. last night. So I awoke from my slumber to see who was calling me and it was my friend. Now this guy is not a night person, so I would have expected him to be sleeping, which made me think something serious must have been happening for him to be calling me at this time. So I nervously pick up the call and I just hear a smacking sound. I say, hello, is anyone there? Then my friend finally goes, Tyler? And I say, yes. Then he says, hey, you have an air fryer, right? So I tell him I do. Then he responds with, can you tell me how to use this thing? I'm trying to reheat my pizza, but I've never used one of these before. First of all, you called and woke me up at 2 a.m. because you're reheating food and needed help. And second of all, it's an air fryer. You just put the food in and set the timer. I thought he was in danger or something. Meanwhile, this man was just going for a midnight snack. Nobody talks about the difference between a girl's comment section when they post versus a guy's. Like, they're both crazy, but in different ways. Because for girls, they'll post a selfie and the comments will be something like, oh my gosh, you're so pretty. I'm literally gonna punch a hole in the wall. I'm literally ovulating looking at this. And as a guy, when I see that, I'm like, damn, are you complimenting them or threatening them? But when a guy posts a picture, the comment section is just straight up freaky. Like, what do you mean I literally just posted a flick of me smiling like this? And you drop a comment on it saying, I'm gonna touch you. But that's not even as bad as one I just got the other day that said, it's all over my screen. I didn't even know what that comment meant at first until someone explained it to me. My parents follow me on here, dog. Why do you keep commenting such freaky stuff that I have to explain to them? You ever see someone sleepwalking? Do not wake them up. Because I was sleeping over at someone's house for the first time once, and they warned me before we went to bed that they have a history of sleepwalking. So I was like, all right, is there anything I should do about it? And he was like, no, it's usually fine. I just wanted to let you know so you don't get scared. So I figured this would be no big deal until later that night. I'm sleeping, but then I hear a loud noise come from the kitchen. So I go to investigate it, and I see my friend holding a fork in his hand. And I
know he told me not to wake him up, but he kept waving the fork around and I didn't want him to get hurt, so I tapped him a couple times. But nothing happened until I yelled out his name and he quickly opened his eyes. But literally the moment he did that, he tried swinging at me with the fork. I asked him why he did that, but when he was finally fully awake, he was like, I don't even remember doing that. But then we looked into it, and apparently when you wake people up after they're sleepwalking, they get really aggressive. So don't try. If there's one person you should never be friends with, it's someone who has creative insults. Because you can never argue with them. If you do, they're just gonna roast you in the most unimaginable way ever. I have a friend who's like this, and there was a time where he got a really bad haircut. And rule number one about being friends with someone is that if they get a bad haircut, you have to cook them for it. So I did, but I immediately regretted it because after I did it, he makes eye contact with me, and without saying anything, he looks me up and down. So I knew I was about to get cooked like some barbecue chicken already. But then he goes, I find it really interesting that you're trying to make fun of my appearance when you look like a character in a zombie movie that just got bit, but is trying to hide it from the rest of the group. I couldn't even understand what that meant at first. So as I was thinking about it, I was like, what? That doesn't even make any sense. Oh, now I get it. Damn, he's right. Congrats, man, you win, okay? Just leave me alone.
This is your warning to never correct your teacher. Because I had a teacher who was pregnant. I know, shocker, teachers are always pregnant. But anyways, because of this, she was super emotional sometimes. And there was one day where you could tell she was really frustrated. So she's teaching our math class, and she tries adding two numbers together, but she gets the answer wrong. So most of us students are looking at each other like, should we tell her she made a mistake? But then we all kind of silently agreed not to because we could tell she was in a bad mood. But apparently one of the students did not get the memo because he raises his hand. So the teacher calls on him and he goes, actually the answer is supposed to be 573, not 473. But you could tell this was the teacher's final straw because once he said this, the teacher put her marker down and goes, Albert, do you want to teach the class? And he responds by saying, I was just trying to help. But then she was like, let me do my job. If I made a mistake, I'll figure it out. So we all just looked at Albert like, why would you say that? Like you knew that was gonna happen. She was so angry, I thought she was gonna pop the baby out right there.
The lady came up to me today and asked if I could take a picture with her daughter, so I said yes. But after we took it, we started talking and eventually she asked where I was from. So I told her California, and then I asked her, where are you from? And she told me, Korea. But you know what I said next? I said, oh, north or south? It was south, by the way.
One thing you should never do during a school fire drill is use the bathroom. Cause one time, I left class because I had to go number 2. Yes, I went number 2 in the school bathroom, okay? I had no choice. But anyways, the fire alarm goes off as I'm there. And if you've ever been in the bathroom when that alarm sounds, you know that it is loud in there. So I'm freaking out because the teacher never told us a fire drill was happening, so I didn't know if it was real. So I'm there trying to finish as quickly as possible just in case there's actually a fire and I need to get out. So I start wiping like there's no tomorrow. But the only problem is, every school uses toilet paper thinner than a celebrity on Ozempic. So I'm wiping for like 10 minutes using the whole roll until finally, it was good enough. So I quickly flush the toilet and run outside to see my whole classroom lined up. So I join them, but my teacher sees me and goes, Tyler, where were you? I just took attendance and you weren't there. Sorry, Mrs. Slater. I was busy fighting for my life. Maybe you should get some toilet paper. That doesn't make me feel like Casper the Ghost is wiping me next time.
I went to school with a foreign exchange student who didn't speak any English, but he really wanted to learn it, so he would ask us to teach him words. And we would. But there was one kid who just loved to troll people. So he would purposely teach the foreign exchange student words in English, but lie about what they meant. Like he told him the word poop meant to eat. So when this poor kid was at lunch, he'd see our food and be like, what are you pooping? Instead of saying, what are you eating? But the worst part is, no one ever corrected it. I'm pretty sure he's still out there asking what people are pooping. Akira, if you're watching this, I'm sorry, bro.
Why do schools get upgraded as soon as you leave? Like while you're going there, it'll look like Gotham City, but the moment you leave, they turn it into a 5-star hotel. The school I used to go to didn't even have air conditioning when I was there. So there would be days where it was over 90 degrees outside and it felt like a sauna inside the classroom. There'd be sweat dripping down from my back to my crack and it would be awful. But just the other day, I drove by the school again for the first time in a while, and originally, I thought I was in the wrong area because they turned my old school into the Taj Mahal. Where'd they get all this money from? Back when I was there, they had mold coming out the ceilings and they took 3 months to fix it. Kids were getting sick left and right, but they didn't care. Fast forward a couple of years, and now they have enough money to have a Chick-fil-A in the school? Was I the problem? The difference between visiting your mom's side of the family versus your dad's is so crazy. Because when I visit my mom's side, it's like a party. Like we spend every holiday with them, whether it's Christmas, Thanksgiving, it doesn't matter. And I'd always look forward to it because we're super close. But for my dad's side of the family, it's like a whole different world. I barely even know anyone on that side. I could literally walk down the street and see 5 people from my dad's side of the family that I'm related to, and I wouldn't recognize them. I'm not even exaggerating because one time I went to a wedding for someone on my dad's side of the family, and the whole time, my dad just kept introducing me to people, and I would be like, wait, Dad, who's this? Oh, that's your uncle. My uncle? You have a brother? Why did I not know that? To be honest, I don't even really know who the wedding was for either. I'm just glad I got free cake. You just found out that some people I used to go to school with thought that I've been dead for years. Because I was at the store and I saw one of my friends from my old school. But when we made eye contact, he looked so surprised to see me. So I said what's up to him. And he told me he thought I passed away a while back. So I was like, huh? what made you think that? But then he explained it to me and it all made sense because when I was younger, I randomly switched schools one day, but I didn't tell any of the people at my current school that this was happening. So one day, all of a sudden, I just wasn't there anymore, so my classmates thought I passed away. But then I said to him, that's kind of extreme to assume I just passed away because I stopped showing up, isn't it? But then he was like, well, yeah, but the last couple days you were at school, you were saying how you felt really sick, so we just assumed you caught some disease and passed away. Now I kind of want to just go find my old classmates in public and stare at them as if I was a ghost. Ever fall asleep with your phone on silent mode? Because the other night, I went to bed around 10 p.m. But in the morning when I woke up, I had like 15 text messages from my friend, including a couple photos. So I was thinking, what could he possibly be texting me this much about? But then I opened up the messages and they said things like, bro, get here ASAP. Where are you? Hurry up. So I still had no idea what he was talking about until I clicked on the photos he sent. And then my jaw dropped because you know who was in these photos? LeBron James! Me and my friend live in LA and he was randomly at the same restaurant as LeBron last night. And he knows LeBron is my glorious Pookie Bear honey bun. So he texted me trying to get me to come to the restaurant. But I was stupidly sleeping already, so I didn't see the messages until the morning. Do you know what I would have done to meet LeBron? I would have missed my own birth just to sniff the seat that LeBron was sitting in. Yet I didn't, all cause my stupid phone was on silent.
The cop who just pulled me over and gave me a ticket, I did not deserve this. I was only going 2 miles per hour over the speed limit. And sure, maybe I also crashed into a stop sign, but that's besides the point.
This is your warning to never wake your mom up when she's sleeping. Because when I was younger, I had a really bad tummy ache one night, and I didn't know what to do, so I went into my parents' room, tapped on my dad a couple times trying to wake him up, but of course he didn't because he's busy snoring at 500 decibels, so then I go over to my mom's side of the bed, and my mom is a really light sleeper, so right when I tapped on her arm, she goes, and I start panicking like, oh my gosh, mom, are you okay? She jumped up like she was just in a nightmare getting flashbacks from the war. But then once she sees me, she's like, yeah, I'm fine. Why? So I'm like, that's weird. But I kind of just brush it off because my stomach hurts so bad. But the next day, I asked her why she always jolts up like that right when I wake her up. And she goes, what are you talking about? She literally did not even know that's how she reacts when someone wakes her up. I guess she must just not be fully conscious yet when she does that. I had to stop waking her up in the middle of the night because it scared me so much. It was like winding up a jack-in-the-box waiting for it to jump out at you. If you're in a group chat with your friends, just know that there's also a second group chat with only the core members of the group in it. And if you don't think that's true, it's because you're not in it. And I had to learn this the hard way because a couple of years ago, I had a group chat with my friends and one day they posted a picture at an amusement park. So I was like, damn, I couldn't get an invite. But one of my friends who must have just not been thinking said, what are you talking about? We planned this in the group chat a couple days ago. Everyone was invited. But I scrolled through the previous text to make sure I wasn't developing Alzheimer's, and sure enough, I was right. They never mentioned anything about going to an amusement park. Then I found out it was because that text was only sent to a separate group chat. This is how it always goes for me though. I'm a part of a lot of friend groups, but I'm never a core member in any of them. It's kind of depressing. I'm never gonna understand Gen Alpha because I was at the airport the other day and this little kid on my flight recognized me. So we were talking a little bit, but then he started to tell me about the girl he has a crush on. And he starts describing her to me, but he's blushing as he's doing it, so I can tell that he really likes her. So eventually, I ask how they met, and he says that they've known each other since birth. So I'm like, oh wow, are your parents friends or something? But then he goes, no, my mom is her dad's sister. At first I'm like, oh, cool. But then I think about it a little more and I'm like, wait, your mom is her dad's sister. That means that girl is your cousin. He's still young though, so that's not a big deal. But I was thinking that I should probably tell him that it's not gonna work out between them. So I do, and he goes, oh, okay, I won't like her anymore then. I like another girl anyway. And I go, oh really? Who? Then he says, my crush's sister. That's still your cousin, dog. At this point, you do you, bro. Ever take an old person to go see a horror movie? Because I went to the movies last night, and when I arrived, I saw a lady that was probably 80 years old there with her grandson. But I don't think she knew this was gonna be a scary movie, because immediately, the movie starts with a jump scare in the first scene, and when it happened, she screamed. But this wasn't a one-time thing. Every time there was a slight jump scare, she would go, huh! So I was thinking, this lady's grandson needs to get her out of here before she has a heart attack. He must have been first in line in her will or something. But about 30 minutes into the movie, she stopped screaming. So I assumed she just got used to the jump scares, but that wasn't the case. Because I looked over at her, and now, she was sleeping. She went from screaming to sleeping all within the same hour. He should have just took her to bingo or something. Ever share an AirPod with someone in school? Because one time, before class started, my friend was like, hey, can I borrow one of your AirPods? I forgot mine. So I said yes, but that was a mistake because I was wearing the other AirPod. And he asked if he could choose the music we listened to during class. So I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. But I underestimated just how bad his music taste was because right when class started, this man starts playing Friday by Rebecca Black. At first I'm like, oh, I get it. He's just trying to mess with me. But then I look over at him and he's bobbing his head completely locked into the song. I tried getting his attention to let him know that my ears were bleeding, but he wouldn't look at me. And he was playing it on full volume. So if I took it out of my ear, the whole class could hear it, which meant I either had to keep it in or take it out and get in trouble by the teacher. By the time class ended, I didn't even want the other AirPod back. Had a bunch of earwax in it anyway. I'm starting to become schizophrenic because my Alexa keeps making these weird laughing noises when I'm not asking. Do you hear that? Alexa, stop.
Bro, what?
I'm so scared for the day we have a Gen Z president because there was a kid in my class last year who said he was going to be president in the future. Like, he was super confident about it and he was going to law school and everything. So at first, I was like, yeah, you're smart, dude. Maybe you could be president one day. But then I saw him in the dining hall a few days later and he was eating food with his headphones in. So I peeked over his shoulder to see what he was watching. And you know what it was? He was watching one of those TikToks where they show a whole movie in like 500 parts with half the screen showing the movie and the other half showing a slime video. Our future presidents and governors are all watching brain rot content. We're doomed! And if this is how our first Gen Z president will be, just imagine what our first Gen Alpha president will be like. When that happens, I'm moving to a different country like Hawaii or something. If you see me in public, please don't take a video of me without me knowing, because I was eating at Chili's the other night with my family, and I'm having a good time until I get the feeling that someone is looking at me. So I glance over to my right and see this kid eyeballing me. But he turned away super quickly, so I could tell he knew who I was. But instead of just coming up to me and saying hi, he took a video of me. And I didn't even notice he did this until the next day. I was getting tagged a bunch in this random post. So I click on it, and it's a video of me eating at Chili's that the kid took. And usually, I wouldn't even care. Like, y'all can do whatever you want when you see me in public. But the one reason I really didn't like this specific scenario was because in the video he took, I was mowing down some chips and salsa with the worst posture ever. Like, I was eating faster than a British person after discovering seasoning. So if you're gonna record me, at least make me look good, man. Never fall asleep on FaceTime with someone, because I used to FaceTime this girl every night, and I really enjoyed it. Until one day where I was super tired, and while we were still on the phone with each other, I fell asleep. So the morning came, and I completely forgot all about this, because when I woke up, my phone wasn't on FaceTime anymore. So I'm just going about my day like usual, until I get a text from her. And it's a video. So I'm thinking she sent me a video of her talking or something, but then I click on it, and it's a screen recording of her being on FaceTime with me while I'm sleeping. But Tyler, what's the issue here? Well, I talk a lot in my sleep, and apparently when I dozed off, she heard me sleep talking. But the embarrassing part is what I say while I'm sleep talking. Because for some reason, I talk in a baby voice sometimes when I'm doing this. So she literally got a recording of me saying, "Mama, I wanna go home." I was so ashamed when she sent me that video because it took away all the nonchalantness I was trying to have around her. Let's be real, I didn't have a shot anyway. Does anyone else have a friend who's been consumed by brain rot? Like, they can't even have a normal conversation anymore. Because I'm starting to get worried about my friend going through this, because we were just on a flight together and this lady was trying to get to her seat, but she tripped over her suitcase and fell. So a couple people were trying to help her up, but while this was happening, my friend goes, I give that 3 big booms. So I go, what? And he says, I give that lady's fall 3 big boom! First of all, you can't scream boom on an airplane. We're about to get kicked off here so fast. But second of all, are you okay? Since when did we start rating everything on a boom meter? Come on, bro, I know you're still inside there somewhere, okay? You gotta fight. The sad part is, I always thought my friend was super smart. He probably could have been a doctor or something. But instead, he just recites brain rot memes. We're all so cooked.
Can we stop using AI for literally everything? Because my friend just found out he's gonna have a baby, and he was trying to figure out what to name it. But he said he wanted it to be something unique. So he asked me if I had any ideas, and I said no. So then he chat GPT'd names that don't sound like an NPC. And now, his kid's name is gonna be Absidy, and it's gonna be spelled ABCD. That's not right. I made a video the other day showing off my bad haircut, and a bunch of people in the comments screenshotted my face when I looked really ugly and made it their profile picture. So from now on, I'm just gonna talk like this so you can't get an embarrassing screenshot of me.
Someone ever texts you the words, "Are you busy right now?" Do not respond, because yesterday I was on the toilet going number 2. But out of nowhere, I got a text from my friend saying, "Are you busy right now?" And I don't like to lie, so I told them, "No, I'm not." But this was a mistake, because I assumed they were just gonna text me asking me something. But instead, 2 seconds after I sent that text, they FaceTime me, and it felt like I got flashbanged. So I declined it because I'm not gonna FaceTime someone while I'm on the toilet. But this made them upset because they texted again saying, "Why didn't you answer? I thought you weren't busy." Yeah, I'm not busy. But that doesn't mean I wanna FaceTime. The toilet is my place of meditation. Please just let me enjoy it.
কি হইছে বলতো? আর বলিস না, তোরে যে বুকিং দিছে সে তখন আমার পিছনে লাগছে।
কিষান আমার দরজা লাগিয়ে দিচ্ছে। আমার দরজা লাগিয়ে দিচ্ছে। কই যায়? কই যা?
আমরা তো বিয়েই দিয়ে দিবে বাসা থেকে।
মাম্মা লাভ স্টোরি তো শুরু করে দিলা। ভালো ভালো ভালো। মালটারে কি পড়ানো যায়?
তুই একটা কাম কর, আজকে থেকে আমি তোমার, তুমি আমার, ব্যাস ডিসিশন ফাইনাল বুকিং দিয়ে রাখলাম, ঠিক আছে? কি খবর তোমাদের, কেমন আছো তোমরা সবাই? ভালো তো না? তুমি জানো তোমায় কালকে একটা কতবার করে দিচ্ছি।
হ্যালো, আসসালামু আলাইকুম।
ওয়ালাইকুম আসসালাম। কি রে হৃদয়, মানা করতেছি।
কিছু মানে কিছু। আগে আপনি জানেন আমি একবার অসুস্থ হয়ে গেছিলাম, ও আমাকে রক্ত দেয়নি, আর আজকে আপনাকে রক্ত দিয়ে চিঠি লিখছে।
ফোন দিয়ে যেতেছি তুমি ফোনই ধরো না, তোমার ফোন ধরার কোনো নামই নাই, কোনো কথা, তোমার ফোন ধরো না কেন?
এবারে এক্সামের প্রিপারেশন কিরকম তোদের? আমি তো খুবই এক্সাইটেড, কারণ আমার প্রিপারেশন খুবই ভালো।
জিসান দরজা খোল। কি বুঝতেছি না।
সুন্দর মতো যাবি, ভাবির নামটা জিজ্ঞাসি। আর শোন, ভালো মতো কথা কবি, ভাবি লাগে খালি ফাপড় আর চাপাবাজি, ফাপড় আর চাপাবাজি, এই বাদে আর কিছু পারছোস? বুকিং মানে বুকিং, তুমি আমার আমি তোমার, বুকিং দিয়ে দিছি ফাইনাল।
আমাকে বুকিং দিছে মানে আমাকে কে বুকিং দিছে দোস্ত?
তোর যে আশিক আছে না, এখন তো আমার পিছনে লাগছে।
এই এই দুলাভাই সামনে থাকলে যে সালাম দিতে হয়, আপনি শিখাই নাই তোরা? কেমন আছো তুমি?
ভালো।
আমাকে জিজ্ঞেস করবো না রক্তটা দিবি তুই?
আমি কেন রক্ত দেবো? প্রেম খরচ তুই, রক্ত।
আমার বন্ধু জিসান আপনাকে অনেক ভালোবাসে ভাবি, আপনার ওর রক্ত যাওয়াটা বিধা হতে দিবেন না ভাবি।
তুমি পড়ো, ঘুম পেলে গুড নাইট, আর বাই।
সহজে কোনো কিছু পাওয়ার মজা নাই, কিন্তু আমগোর দোষ জিসান কি কম। ও ভাবি লাগে বেটা, লজ্জা লাগে না?
কি অন কথা বাদ দে,
পারো তুই যা।
জামুই তো।
তুই চুপ থাক।
কিন্তু আমি তো আপনাকে চিনি না।
চিনো না যে আজকে চিনলা, আরো চিনবা, আস্তে আস্তে চিনবা। আর শুনো,
আরে বেঞ্চা, নতুন নতুন সম্বন্ধ তো তাই চিনতে পারেন নাই। ওই যে আপনার বান্ধবী তুলি আছে না,
আমার তো তাহলে বিশাল বিপদ। আমি তাহলে কোচিং এ কেমনে যাব? পড়াশোনা কিভাবে করব? আমার তো ভয় লাগতেছে।
কি খবর?
আসসালামু আলাইকুম।
ওয়ালাইকুম আসসালাম। কি খবর? 3 2 1। আর আজকে রাত 10টা, হ্যাঁ?
রক্ত কেন?
ইতিহাস লিখবো, ভালোবাসার ইতিহাস।
ভালো আছি, আপনি ভালো আছেন?
আমি তো ভালো আছি, তো তোমার বোন কোথায়?
আচ্ছা, একটা মিনিট, আমি কল দিচ্ছি।
এক রাতেই ভালো হয়ে গেল? এটাও আমার বিশ্বাস করতে হবে? দোস্ত, আমার না ভয় লাগতেছে।
এই কি করবি? চেনা চেহারা না হলো কি চেহারা, কথা তো বেশি চেহারা ওরকম বেশি।
আপনি না শুই না না দেখা সব জানা ফেলছেন বাবা।